Welcome to the podcast. Before we begin, there is a disclaimer we have to make. Let's Talk Wellness Now brings expert insights directly to you. Please note that the views and information shared by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Let's Talk Wellness Now, its management, or our partners. Each affiliate, sponsor, and partner is an independent entity with its own perspectives. Today's content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered specific advice, whether financial, medical, or legal. While we strive to present accurate and useful information, we cannot guarantee its completeness or relevance to your unique circumstances. We encourage you to consult with a qualified professional to address your individual needs. Your use of information from this broadcast is entirely at your own risk. By continuing to listen, you agree to indemnify and hold Let's Talk Wellness Now and its associates harmless from any claims or damages arising from the use of this content. We may update this disclaimer at any time, and changes will take effect immediately upon posting or broadcasts. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you find this episode both insightful and thought-provoking. Listener discretion is advised. Now for the show.
Welcome to Let's Talk Wellness Now, the podcast where we uncover the latest trends, tools, and tips to empower you to take charge of your health and well-being. I'm your host, Dr. Deb, functional medicine practitioner, naturopath, and advocate for natural healing. Today, we're diving into a topic that impacts every aspect of our lives, our neurotransmitters. These tiny little chemical messengers in the brain influence our mood, energy, focus, sleep, and even how our body processes pain. Understanding how they work and what happens when they're out of balance can give us a whole new perspective on achieving optimal health and wellness. So let's get started. So what are neurotransmitters exactly? Well, think of them as the brain's way of sending text messages to the rest of the body. They're chemicals that relay messages between nerve cells and impact how we feel, think, and act. Some of the major neurotransmitters you may have heard of include serotonin, dopamine, GABA, and norepinephrine. Each one has a specific job, and together they keep us functioning at our best, or not, depending on their balance. So let's break down the big players. Serotonin, known as the feel-good neurotransmitter, it affects mood, sleep, and appetite. Dopamine, the one that controls the reward and pleasure center, but also plays a big role on focus and motivation. Now, dopamine also controls our mood. When dopamine is off, we can behave in somewhat of a bipolar manner. When it's too low, we'll see symptoms similar to Parkinson's disease. And GABA, think of that as your brain's calming force. It helps you reduce anxiety and improves sleep. Norepinephrine is your alertness and energy, and we rely heavily on this neurotransmitter. It's a neurotransmitter that is produced by the adrenal glands, and when it's off, it controls some of that fight or flight response that we see. Epinephrine is another neuroadrenal transmitter that affects appetite and energy and focus. Now, these sound pretty important, right? So let's take a look at what happens when these neurotransmitters are out of sync. When neurotransmitters are out of balance, the effects can ripple across the body. Low serotonin, for example, is often linked to depression and anxiety. A deficiency in dopamine may make you feel unmotivated or stuck in a mental fog. And GABA levels, when they're low, you can experience a heightened anxiety or even insomnia. And norepinephrine, too much, can lead to high stress and panic, while too little can cause fatigue and brain fog. But what causes these imbalances to begin with? Well, it's not just one thing. Factors like stress, poor diet, inability to absorb nutrients from the gut, lack of sleep, toxins, and even our genetics can influence how these neurotransmitters are produced and how the body uses them. Now, a stressful lifestyle, for example, can deplete serotonin and dopamine levels over time, as well as norepinephrine and epinephrine, making it harder to manage that stress effectively. Chronic illnesses like thyroid disorders, adrenal insufficiency, autoimmune disease, these all impact our neurotransmitter production. And we all know about the chronic issues of gut health these days, often referred to as our second brain, plays a huge role here too. Did you know that about 90% of the serotonin is made in your gut? And this is why gut health is so important and mental health is so deeply connected today. If you don't have enough serotonin in your gut, you can't utilize that in the brain, and it can't make you stay asleep longer. It can't make you feel good. And oftentimes these antidepressants are reliant on the amount of serotonin we have in our body to work efficiently. So if you're taking an antidepressant and it doesn't feel like it's working, it may simply be because you don't have enough serotonin to begin with. And adding serotonin back in and getting your gut to absorb these and create these neurotransmitters from our amino acids more efficiently can actually make your antidepressants work more efficiently and be better for you. Now, the good news is that we can optimize these neurotransmitters. We can take steps to balance our neurotransmitters naturally. Now, let's talk about a few ways that we can do that. Nutrition is key. It always is. It's where we start in the world of keeping our bodies whole and balancing things properly. Your brain needs the right building blocks to create these neurotransmitters. So, for example, foods high in tryptophan, like turkey and nuts, support serotonin production. Tyrosine-rich foods like eggs and fish help boost dopamine. And magnesium found in leafy greens and nuts are crucial for calming the nervous system. Quality sleep is essential for neurotransmitter balance, but it's a double-edged sword because if you don't have enough of certain neurotransmitters, you're not going to sleep properly. For instance, if you're deficient in serotonin, you need serotonin in the brain at its highest point in order to keep us in a nice deep REM sleep. So without enough serotonin, you can have sleep disturbances. One of the ways that we determine if this is an issue is what time you wake at night. So typically people who wake between 1 and 3 in the morning have a liver issue. Their liver is not clearing their toxins appropriately. However, people who wake between 3 and 5 have a serotonin issue, and that's what's causing their disruption of sleep. And giving them more serotonin, especially at night, can keep them in that deeper sleep and make sleep quality improved. Now, certainly stress reduction, we all talk about that. It's really important. Most of us are under a lot of stress, whether we feel it or not. So doing practices like meditation or mindfulness, or even spending time in nature can lower the stress hormones and boost that calming neurotransmitter like GABA. Now, GABA is known as nature's Xanax, right along with L-theanine. So if you're struggling with anxiety and you're taking medication and it's not working, you really want to look at these neurotransmitters and see if you're deficient in some of them. And they can actually help balance your neurotransmitters, raise up that GABA level so that you're not so anxious and not so nervous. And that way, we may not have to use medications like Xanax in cases like this. I love a product called GABAtrex, which you can find on our full script link, for anxiety. It works very fast. It's a chewable. I oftentimes recommend it to people who have trouble when they fly because you can take 2 GABAtrex. They're chewables. They taste great. And it just takes the edge off. It takes that calming or gives you that calming, relaxed feeling. It takes the edge off without making you feel groggy. There's no addiction to it. There's no concern for overdosing on this product. It's really a nice supplement. It's just an amino acid. It works beautifully. Exercise is another really important thing. Regular movement increases dopamine and endorphins, and it helps you feel more energized and more motivated. We oftentimes find people who have problems with addiction, whether it's gambling or sugar or alcohol or drugs, have an imbalance in their dopamine. And if we can get their dopamine levels up, they're not looking for those addictive hits anymore. And when people have addictions and they've been struggling and overusing alcohol or drugs or things like that, doing a neurotransmitter test can be extremely effective in us finding the neurotransmitters that are out of balance. And then we can also look to see if there's a genetic component that's contributing to some of these issues as well. And you can actually test for these neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters can be tested by blood or by urine. Now, from a functional medicine standpoint, they're much better tested via urine because we're seeing functional issues. From a diagnostic disease issue, we want to look more at blood testing. That gives us a different aspect of things. So using these tests appropriately can really help identify different medications that might be helpful or different supplements that might be helpful for you. In some cases, we may supplement with amino acids like 5-HTP for serotonin. This is a precursor to serotonin, or L-tyrosine for dopamine. These are very helpful in increasing these amino acids that make these neurotransmitters and can be used safely with medications if you're working with providers that really understand how to utilize these amino acids so that you don't overdose on them. And then there's some really exciting areas of research now in the world of peptides and exosomes and other integrative therapies that can be used to regulate neurotransmitters. These therapies hold incredible promise for people dealing with chronic stress, depression, and neurological issues. Peptides and exosomes are one of my favorite things to look at as options in people who've tried everything else and nothing has worked. So I want to share with you, how do you know if your neurotransmitters are out of balance or not? So symptoms like chronic fatigue, mood swings, anxiety, depression, difficulty focusing, these can all be signs that your neurotransmitters are out of balance. And testing is available through functional medicine practitioners like myself. And once we identify the imbalances, we can create a personalized plan to support your neurotransmitter health. I've seen so many clients over the years experience incredible transformations once we've addressed these imbalances. For example, a patient struggling with severe anxiety and insomnia discovered that low GABA levels were the root cause. And through targeting therapies and lifestyle changes, she was able to sleep better and regain a sense of calm. Ultimately, neurotransmitters are just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to health and wellness, but they're a critical one. Balancing them can unlock a whole new level of vitality and mental clarity. I really want to encourage you, if you're struggling with depression, anxiety, addiction, to look at neurotransmitters as a potential therapy that can help you. If you're on medication that seems to be working okay but not great, or maybe you've had to change multiple medications to find the right one and they still don't feel like they're working as good as they should, really explore the world of neurotransmitters. Anybody who's suffering with a neurological condition, MS, Parkinson's, dementia, ALS, Alzheimer's disease, these things can be affected by neurotransmitters. For instance, we know that ALS has a connection to a glutamate toxicity. And if glutamate is elevated, we need to get that glutamate out of the brain to reverse the ALS symptoms. And identifying this glutamate toxicity and exactly how high it is will allow us to implement a protocol that will get glutamate out of the brain and potentially make those neurological symptoms better for you. So this has a really huge potential in both chronic illness neurological diseases, as well as things like depression, anxiety, insomnia. And simply supplementing with these amino acids can make an incredible difference for us. So I want to thank you for joining me today on Let's Talk Wellness Now. And if this episode has resonated with you, share it with someone who can benefit from learning about neurotransmitters and their impact on health. Remember, wellness isn't just about feeling good, it's about thriving in an area of your life. And not just one area, but every area of your life. And if you're ready to explore how neurotransmitter testing in functional medicine can help, visit serenityhealthcarecenter.com or reach out to my team, and we're happy to have a discussion with you. Until next time, I'm Dr. Deb, reminding you to take care of your body, mind, and spirit. Be well, and I'll see you on this next episode.